because most people don't have a lot of time to watch the news. They don't. So you need to find ways to diversify the news that you do see in the time that you do have. And for all of your news to come from the corporate media, that means you're missing a big chunk of what's happening. And that's what this video is all about. Okay, so much is the talk these days of mainstream media and fake news, and how people are accusing the mainstream media of being fake news. Well, I've known that the mainstream media cannot be the only place that you get your news for a long time. Well, I decided to make this video because I saw a segment of Redacted Tonight, which is on RT, Russian television, and it sort of informed my opinion. And I have to tell you, when I watched this first segment, I couldn't stop thinking about it. So that's when I knew that I needed to make a video. Watch this.
The truth is, I write or ad-lib sometimes every word I say on this show. My words represent my views, and my views alone on the redacted or covered up stories impacting our lives. I've never been told to say something on this show. Do you think the mainstream media reporters write every word they say? I don't know, maybe they do. Maybe they write their own words.
A child's happiness is priceless, especially on a birthday.
A child's happiness is priceless, especially on a birthday.
A child's happiness is priceless, especially on a birthday.
A child's happiness is priceless, especially on a birthday. A child's happiness is priceless, right? Especially on a birthday. A child's happiness, child's happiness. A child's happiness. A child's happiness. A child's happiness is. A child's happiness. 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 A child's happiness.
So,
Mainstream media, while it is not fake, it is corporate. So on broadcasts, with very rare exceptions, everything is carefully scripted so as not to offend anyone. So it's rare that you're really going to get something that is real. Now, that doesn't mean they don't give useful news, but this clip just proves that it's all manufactured and it's all corporate, meant to offend no one. But if you offend no one, then you've also informed no one in most cases.
do you want to watch the network that covered Hurricane Katrina like this?
So many of these people, almost all of them that we see, are so poor and they are so black, and this is going to raise lots of questions.
Sometimes they're just so black. Wolf, you're a fucking poet. You really are.
Hurricane Katrina was a tragedy, and I think the mainstream media covered it very well, and they got it right. But there are always going to be isolated incidents where they don't get it right. This is a perfect example of what happens when mainstream media goes off the corporate script, which is why they stick to a corporate script, because they've had things like this happen with people like Wolf Blitzer. But that sort of exposes the people who work for corporate media, and their biases are exposed from time to time because they're human beings, and all human beings have biases. But when you look at mainstream media and the people that they choose to put in front of us in mainstream media, just know their biases are lurking behind the corporate script they spout. People keep wondering how we got Donald Trump as president. They wonder how we got Donald Trump as president. How did we get Donald Trump as president? Well, as this video clip will show, Bernie Sanders was robbed in the primary by the Democrats. Everyone was upset about it. And mainstream media wanted to hide that fact, and this clip is a perfect example. If people could see what was done to Bernie Sanders, then perhaps things could have been different. Perhaps there could have been a different nominee. Perhaps the nominee wouldn't have been Hillary Clinton. But everybody was in the pool for Hillary Clinton, and everyone wanted to make sure would happen, including the media. There was collusion all around, and this is a perfect example of it.
Or the media that covered the protest for 2 seconds like this.
They are laying down in front of the entrance. They are letting police through, and the police, if you look over this way.
All right, Miguel, thank you so much. We're going to cut you off. We're going to cut you off right now. We're going to cut you off right now. We're going to cover right now. Boys to Men, Philadelphia's Own is here, and they're performing on stage.
Okay, so the individual reporters who are out there in the field, they try to do their job. But the mainstream media is corporate. So individuals within a corporation try to do their job, but what the corporation wants is going to happen. So when you're watching corporate media, you are watching what the corporation wants you to know. That is why you need to diversify your news. But you also need to diversify your politics because of people like the Koch brothers. People talk about George Soros all the time. George Soros this. You can't go anywhere without hearing George Soros. Well, the Koch brothers and George Soros probably belong to the same sorority or something of rich people that want to control everything, because this is how the Koch brothers are treated by mainstream media.
Or would you rather listen to MSNBC treat them like this?
It's hard to find people in New York, liberals, we were talking about this before, liberals or conservatives alike, who haven't been touched by your graciousness.
Occupy Wall Street was a serious thing to me, and it really needed to continue longer than it did. But it was mostly dismissed by corporate media because corporations didn't want you to look at what they are doing to our society and to America. So this is how they covered Occupy Wall Street.
Or the networks that covered it like this.
Now for a story that made us say, seriously? The Occupy Wall Street protest entered its third week today. Sports drinks, catered lunch. Yeah, there was catered lunch. Designer yoga clothing. That's a Lululemon logo. Computers, lots of MacBooks, and phones.
Millions lost their homes, Aaron Burnett. Millions had their lives destroyed. The banks are bigger than they've ever been before. No one has gone to jail. And you were upset the protesters had Gatorade and cell phones? So the only acceptable protest against the big banks and the corporate extraction of our world is an Amish one? And what you're calling a catered lunch, you out-of-touch corporate stooge, is actually called free food available even for those who can't afford food.
Now, going forward, the media needs to be given more attention to climate change. They're starting to, and things have changed a lot since 2012, but this is what they were doing in 2012.
A 2012 Media Matters study found that NBC's Meet the Press covered it with just one 6-second mention that year.
My final words on this and my final random and not so random thought is diversify where you get your news from. Diversify your web sources. Look at TV. Get news from TV. I'm not telling you not to, but you need to be able to have a barometer to compare corporate news to real news. Corporate news can be real news, but most of the time it is not. So diversify your news sources. And how do you diversify your news sources? Well, YouTube is a great place to diversify your news sources. There are a lot of independent media on YouTube that does a good job. There is Redacted Tonight, which is on RT. You can look at just the Redacted Tonight clips on YouTube and you will see how they reported things like Occupy Wall Street. You will see how they reported things like the pipeline, in the protest by the Indians, the water protectors. They did a great job at reporting that. Better than the corporate media, who totally ignored it. There's so many things ignored by the corporate media that we need to be paying attention to. That's why you need to diversify your news sources, so you know the stories out there that will touch your life. And nothing will touch your life more than climate change. And we now have a president who wants to ignore climate change, and he has a cabinet around him that will do things that will make climate change worse. So, I had to make this video because of that one moment on this show. And I hope that by watching this video that you would diversify your sources of news. I'm not telling you not to watch corporate media. I'm not telling you not to watch anything. I'm telling you to watch as much as you can and diversify what you can watch, because most people don't have a lot of time to watch the news. They don't. So you need to find ways to diversify the news that you do see in the time that you do have. And for all of your news to come from the corporate media, that means you're missing a big chunk of what's happening. And that's what this video is all about.